In this video, we are going to watch acid-base titration, and the type of acid-base titration is that of a weak acid versus strong base. This titration may be of help to you as a chemist or as a student of chemistry or similar audience. Those that are interested in chemistry can also make use of this video. This video can be of help to National Open University system, where they can conduct chemistry practicals directly from the internet or online. In this video, we are going to, as I've said, conduct an acid-base titration. My channel is VCLokore Web. If you are interested, you can subscribe to this channel and it will be of help to you and enhance your educational program. Now, what is titration? As we know, titration is the determination of a concentration of a known substance with a known volume of a substance. So in this video, we are going to enter into the stockroom to conduct a simple experiment on acid-base titration. Let us now watch the movement of the cursor as I enter the stockroom. Now you can now move to the list of experiments, preset experiments. In this preset experiment, look at the preset experiments. We now click on weak acid and return to the main laboratory where you have to conduct the experiment. And you now know that in this titration, the concentration of the acid is in this beaker, and that of the titrant is in this volume. So the titrant here is sodium hydroxide, which is titrated against the analyte, which is the acid in this beaker. Now, let us now see what happens to this experiment. When you observe the results, we'll first of all move the lab so that we can see what is happening clearly. Now, this is the volume, the concentration of sodium hydroxide, which is 0.2006 molar solution, and the acetic acid is 0.1894 molar solution. So in this titration, we look at a situation where the titrant, which is in the borate, is titrated against the analyte until it is completely consumed. And we will now see what will happen in the graph. Our attention is to see what actually happened in the graph, to observe when the titrant is completely consumed by the analyte. And we record the points. At that equivalent point, where the titration is completely consumed by the analyte, is our point of interest as a chemist. Now we are going to start the titration. Before we start the titration, we are going to open the lab book to know what is happening. And in the lab book is where we will now record our data. So watch me with the movement of the cursor. We have opened the lab book. Watch me. Move the lab book. Place it somewhere here. Then after opening the lab book, we now go to the zoomed burette menu. This is where the burette, this burette here, which we have here, is being zoomed. We now click the save button. The essence of clicking the save button is to help us record the data of the acid-base titration. Now, this is the orange handle. When we put this orange handle in a slanting position, then it will start running the titration until it is completely consumed by the analyte. Now let's start the experiment. And before we start the experiment, let's look at the color of the indicator. The indicator we use here is phenolphthalein. This is the indicator. It is in this beaker. And you see the color already here is plain color. And when the titration is completed, when it is completely consumed at the neutral point, the color will change from this plain color to an orange color. Now let's start the titration. We are going to click on the orange handle into slanting position. Titration run. Watch the experiment. While the experiment is running, it's gradually running. You can put it in a slanting position to make it run a bit fast. When we are about coming very close to a certain point of the volume, we can start running it drop by drop. Watch the running of the titration. The titration is going. Titration is going. The volume is now 18, 19. It's now 20, 23. We stop and gradually start running it drop by drop. We'll be running it drop by drop until the color change is observed. See, the color has changed completely. So we stop it and return it to a vertical position. This is the first titration. Then how do we record the data? We now move to the zoomed menu. This zoom menu is the burette, and click again, stop. It will save the data. And this is the save data. The save data is blue here. Now, you can now come up again and see the plotting of the graph. Watch me. Here's the graph. You can now see the situation where the volume, the pH is complete. This is the volume of the pH where it is completely consumed by the analyte. And this is the volume here, the volume that has been consumed by the analyte. We can see it in the graph here. We can also click it to record the data. Now go back to our column and see the result. If we now double click here, we now can see the data viewer giving us an information what we recorded during our titration. check it. Watch me as we conduct the experiment. Click on the data viewer. Let us now see the result. Watch the experiment. Watch the experiment. Watch the experiment. By scrolling on the data viewer, you see, in this data viewer, the volume here that was consumed by the analyte is at a pH of 10.92, and 10.92 is the pH of the base. And look at the volume that was consumed, 23.84 cm3. You can copy this result to a spreadsheet for analysis. So the initial volume here is 23.84, and this is the volume. This one is the pH value and not the volume. This is the pH value. So at this point, this is the point where the graph gives us the information of how the titrant was completely consumed by the analyte in a weak acid-base titration. We can repeat the experiment by going back to the stockroom and run the titration straight to the volume of 23 and start dropping it drop by drop to record a second result. Now watch me. I can enter the stockroom once again. Go to the stockroom. Go to the preset experiment again. Click on the weak acid versus strong base. When you click on it, return to the main lab, and remember again that our indicator is phenolphthalein. Then we'll start running our titration. Once again, there is the acid, weak acid, acetic acid, and this is the base. Remember, the base is in the burette, and the acetic acid is 25 cm3 and is in the beaker. We are now titrating what is in the burette against what is in the beaker. And let's start the titration again. This is the orange handle. We can now run it straight to the slanting position until it is about 23, where we can now start dropping it drop by drop. What is the titration? What is the titration? Remember, in this case, we've not saved, but let us save our data as the experiment is running. Continue. The experiment is running. The experiment is running. Experiment is running. We're watching on the experiment. Watch the movement of the cursor. Watch the movement of the cursor. The volume is moving down gradually. Gradually. It is moving down. And once it's 23, start running drop by drop until there is a change in the color of the indicator. Be careful. You see there is a color change. Then record your second reading again by clicking on the Borage Zoom view. This is the second data. See the results from the data viewer. You can scroll the data viewer to check again the volume where the acid was completely consumed by the base. And you know the volume of the titrant at a particular pH. You see there was a slight change here. So we made a mistake. So we didn't stop the titration in time. Here is where the titration ought to have been around 23.87. Is where our correct reading should have been. The first point where we recorded our results. So in this titration, we now know that approximately it is about 23.87 and the pH is 10.97. So we can copy all these results to spreadsheet to produce an accurate result. Thank you once again for observing my video on the titration of a weak acid versus a strong base. You can subscribe to